So we started with our fifth module. So in that first chapter, we discussed about managing states. So there we discussed about the concept of sessions, cookies, okay, caching. Okay. So today we start with our second chapter of fifth module. So here in the second chapter, you're going to study about the advanced JavaScript concepts. Okay, we already studied the basics about JavaScript. Okay, executed few programs in the lab. So we know the basics about the JavaScript. So here we study about the advanced client-side scripting, okay, which will allow us to design and build more efficient and maintainable JavaScript code. Okay, and again we will be studying about jQuery. Okay, we are going to study we can call this jQuery is a framework of JavaScript, okay, or an extended version of JavaScript. Okay, so here we are going to study the, the JavaScript framework, that is jQuery. Okay, also we are going to study about Ajax. Okay, how Ajax can be used for designing and implementation of the web page. So these are the things we are going to study. Okay, about jQuery, JavaScript advanced concept. Okay, so we call JavaScript is a uh, partially a server-side language. It's not a complete server-side language. It's a partially okay, a server-side language. jQuery Foundation, Ajax, okay, asynchronous file transmission, few things about animation, then about MVC frameworks. So today we will study about jQuery and JavaScript. Okay. The first we are going to discuss about the first topic, that is JavaScript pseudo classes. So here JavaScript we cannot call it as a complete or a formal class, okay, mechanism. Okay, it is not a complete object oriented language. It is an object based language. Okay, it supports partial object concepts. Okay, uh, here we can call it as a JavaScript as a partially object oriented language, or it is a object based language. Okay. So here we are going to study about the pseudo classes. Okay, a variety of interesting syntax. So here we are going to initially we are going to study how to create the objects. Okay. So we have studied in the previous when we started discussing about JavaScript. We saw how to create arrays, how to create string, how to create variables. Okay. So arrays in the JavaScript can be initiated with elements in the following way. So we can create an array something like this. Like this, we can create the arrays. Okay. So here, first we are going to study about object literals. Okay. So later we'll focus about class concepts. First we study about objects. Okay. An object can be initiated using the object literals. Okay. Objects are variable. So whenever you create a variable, okay, so this variable what you have created car can also be called as an object. Okay. So this one is an object. We can also use new keyword for creating the objects, or we can also simply, if we create like this a variable, this variable is also treated as an object. Okay. So objects are variables too, but objects can contain many values. Okay. Object literals are the list of key and value pairs with colons between the key and values with comma separated by key and value pairs. Okay. Object literals are also called as plain objects in jQuery. Okay. So I said that these objects are in the form of key and value pairs separated by comma. Okay. So JavaScript has no formal class mechanism. So there is no formal like how we define in our object-oriented language like .NET and all. or in Java, we go for formal declaration of the classes and all. We don't have such things in JavaScript, but whereas in PHP, we can find all the object-oriented concepts like encapsulation, polymorphism, interface, and all. But here we don't have such things in JavaScript. Okay. But here we have created an object of type car. Okay, then we can also create like this. Okay, we can also view a car object and we can define different properties. For a car we can define properties like type, model, color. Okay, so here we know that how to access the properties or how to access the method, correct? An object can have properties and object can access the methods, correct? Same way, when you declare an object, car object, and we declare certain properties, they can be accessed by function. Okay, so this is the name of the object, car dot name. So what is the name? So it is page. Okay. Similarly, car dot model, it will give the value associated with the model. And similarly, we can access different other properties like type, then color and all using dot notation. And you can also access the method. Okay, so this car can also have certain methods. Okay, here you can see here also we use dot notation for accessing the method. So car is object dot start. So these are all different methods. Okay, so showing how you can access the methods and properties. Then here you can see we define a six-faced dice with a red color. So this is an object we are creating. Okay, this is actually a variable which is also treated as an object. And we have two properties. Okay, one is color and another one is faces. Okay, it's a die. So dice can have color and six faces. Correct. So these elements can be accessed using the dot notation. So you can go for the object name dot color. It will give you the color. Okay, or you can change even the color value like this. Okay, you can do different color values. So now we saw how to create objects, okay, how to create properties. So next we will go with the emulated classes with functions. So here, as I already said, there is no formal class mechanism in JavaScript. Okay, but it is possible to get, okay, or it is possible to create functions in JavaScript. Okay, and you can have functions, you can have methods. Okay, and you can pass parameters, return values and all. Okay. Similar to your object oriented language, the functions can also be declared in JavaScript. Okay, so this shows a very simple die pseudo class definition as a function. Okay. So this is a, you can call it as a pseudo class, okay, with the name die, or we can call it as a function. So this is actually, when we see it is a function, correct, but it can also be treated as a class in JavaScript. Okay, we call it as a pseudo class. We have created a function and we are passing some parameter. Okay, and we have accessing the color and accessing the faces. Okay, we are assigning color and faces. Okay. And here we have used this keyword inside the function, which refers to the instance or the object. Okay, so we can create the object. For example, yeah. For example, I create the object of this. Okay, this is actually a function, or we call it as a pseudo class. Of this die class, die pseudo class, you are creating the object. The object name is what? One die. Okay. So here we are creating one die. Okay. One die is the name of the object, and we are calling this class and passing. It refers to this keyword will, and this color we are passing, and here that color will be assigned with this. Okay, that is 000 FF. Okay. So So this is how we create a pseudo class. Okay, this is called as a pseudo class. Okay. With the function keyword we are creating, and this is how we create the objects in JavaScript. Next one is adding methods to objects. Now here we said that this is our pseudo class. So what is the name of the pseudo class? It is die. Okay. So now we show in this example one technique of adding a method or a function inside the pseudo class definition by assigning an anonymous function to the variable. Now what we do is, okay, for this pseudo class, inside this, these are the different properties, correct? Now this we are adding a method. So what is the name of the method? The method name is random roll. Okay, so this is how you create the method in the uh, pseudo class. Okay, this dot random roll. So this is the name of the method equal to function, and we are having some implementation of the random roll function. So this is some implementation, okay, where we are calling math dot random function, okay, which will give a random number, okay, and into this dot faces dot length. So faces dot length is nothing but the number of elements in this array. How many we have? 6, correct? So 6 will be given, okay, and some random number will be given, assume that 2 will be or 1 or points, okay. So 2 into 6, it will be 12 into 12 plus 1. So math floor, okay. So math floor is similar to your ceiling and floor function. Okay. So suppose if it is 6.12 or something, so at that time it will give you 6. Okay. Then faces dot random. Okay. So faces dot random number minus 1. So it will give some. So suppose if the return value is 6, okay, 6 minus 1, it is 5. So faces of 5. What is faces of 5? This is 0, 1, 2, index. Okay. 3, 4, and 5. So this faces of 5 is what? It is 6. Faces of 1 is 2. Faces of 0 is 1. Okay, so this is implementing this example shows, okay, the declaration of the method inside the pseudo class die. And here what we do is we are creating an object of the pseudo class. The object name is one die, and using that object we are calling this random roll method. So random roll will give you some, it will return some random number, okay, out of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we can tell, okay, what is the number that is written when you roll the die. Okay, 6 is roll or 4 is roll. When you throw the die, okay, what is the number that is written? So this is an example shows declaration of the pseudo class. Okay, inside that how to declare the properties and the method inside the pseudo class. Okay, now in this method, this is also one of the effective method for creating the methods. Okay, but the disadvantage of this technique of creating the method is it is not memory efficient approach, because each inline method is redefined for each new object. Okay. So what is that? Whenever you create an object, okay, every time when you create the object, this method is redefined. For example, suppose if you are creating 100 objects, okay, for this 100 objects, this method that is random roll will be defined 100 times. Okay, for this 100 objects, okay, 100 times this, okay, for example, if this is an object, okay, y is one more object, okay, similarly for 100 objects, okay, 100 times this random roll method will be declared inside the memory. Okay, so that is a disadvantage of this method. You can see here this diagram shows defining method as we have shown. Okay, it is not a memory efficient approach. For each new object, you can see here, this is a UML diagram. So this is the object name is X, which belongs to the class die. So what is that? This is a class name, pseudo class name die. For this object, okay, we are creating the properties, we are creating the method. Okay, so once it is created, again for the next object y that belongs to the die class, again we are creating the properties and again we are creating the method. Okay, so twice for two objects, okay, twice we are storing the methods, okay, and as well as the attributes, okay, which is not a memory efficient approach. Okay. So to overcome that, we are using the concept of prototypes. Okay, so prototypes are an essential syntax mechanism in JavaScript. Okay, so that are used to make the JavaScript behaves more like an object-oriented language. So here, prototype. So what is a prototype? Prototype is an object from which other object inherits. Okay, what is this? A prototype is an object from which the other object inherits. Okay, so you can see here, this is a prototype we have created. Okay, you can see the syntax. For the class die, we have created the prototype. Okay, and we are declaring a prototype is nothing but a model. Okay, where it shows what are the properties that we have, okay, for an object and we are having. Okay, so that is declared once, okay, only once in the memory, and all other objects, okay, maybe 2 objects or 100 objects or 1,000 objects can inherit this prototype. So what we are doing here, we are just what we are doing, we are just calling this method. We are not declaring the method for the object x and y. So what you can do is you can save the memory. So this is a memory efficient method. So since all the instances of die share the same prototype object, the function declaration only happens only once. Okay, and they are shared by all the objects, okay, belonging to the die pseudo class. Okay, only once you are declaring the whereas here what we are doing, for two objects twice we are declaring, correct? It is not a memory efficient approach. So in prototype what we are doing, we are creating only once the definition of the function. Okay, all other objects just refers to that function definition. Okay, so only once memory will be allotted for this function declaration and definition. Okay. So this is a few more examples of prototype. More about the prototype. So every object and a method in JavaScript has a prototype. Okay, every object or method like this, they will be having a prototype. In addition to using prototypes for our own pseudo classes, prototypes enables to extend the existing class by adding to their prototype. So here what you can do, prototypes also allows, okay, the concept of extending the existing class by adding it to their prototype. Okay. So imagine that we have a method, we add it to the string object. Okay, so this is a string object. Imagine that we have a method. Okay, so the method name is character count. So here, assume that similar to this random roll, okay, assume that we have one more method, okay, that belongs to the string object. Okay, in string object. So here, this function, okay, this function or this method, character counts, it will count the instance of a character. Okay, So this is a definition of this method, okay, declaration. So here what you pass a character. Okay, so you can pass a character, any characters. For example, um, I have a string. Okay, I have a string. Okay, so for every string, okay, so yes is a string. Okay, so hi, good morning. Okay, this is a string. Assume that this is a string, and this prototype. Okay, prototype with the name method character counts is a method that is associated with the string object. Now this S is a string object. For every string object, this character count method will be called. Okay, so you can call this for this yes. Okay, you can call this method. Okay, so you can call this method count characters. Count characters method you can call. Okay, and you can pass a parameter. What is a parameter? You want to count, okay, a character. So for example, I will pass I. Okay, now what happens? It will enter to this function. This argument is having the value I. Now count is initial is equal to 0. We are using here for loop for counting number of, okay, i's we have. Okay, character I, how many times that we have in this string. So character this dot length. Okay, so this will give the length of this. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5. Let's take some length. Okay, so here it will check character at, so at the index 0. This is our index 0 1, similar to our C programming. Okay, 3 4 and 5, and last we have a null character, correct? Now we are checking whether the character at I. So initial character I is what? It is 0. H is equal to I. H is equal to I. The condition fails. The count is not implemented. Again, I will become 1. So I character at 1. So what is the character at 1? It is I. So I is equal to I. Yes, condition is true. So initially count is 0. Now the count value will become 1. Same way you will continue. Space will be compared with I. The condition phase. G will be compared with I, condition phase. M will be compared with I, condition phase. Okay, so till you reach the end. Okay, and again, and finally it returns the count value. What is the count? How many times we have I? So in this string, hi, good morning, we have only once. Okay, so that is the return value for this. Okay, so this is the return value of this function. So here you can see, now we have declared the string. Okay, so this is a string we have declared, and this is a string we are passing hello world. And again, for this string we are calling this function character count. Okay, we are passing this character count method with the value L. Okay, how many times L we have in this hello world? 3 times, correct? Then how it will be printed? Okay, L has, okay, what is the return value of this after executing? Okay, so what is this? Hello world. Okay, hello world as 3 letters L's. Okay, so this is how, okay, you can use different prototypes. You can declare different methods using prototype syntax. So this is about the advanced JavaScript concept, where it shows how you can create classes. Okay, inside pseudo classes, how we can declare properties, or how we can declare the methods. So you can study more about in W3 schools about the JavaScript classes, functions, and all. You can go through this JavaScript. Here you can see the concept of the pseudo classes, and all. More about that you can study. So these things are not there for you. So here they have shown only pseudo classes. Okay. So this is some more advanced concepts. Okay, in JavaScript, how to create objects, how to create constructors, how to create methods. Okay, these are all some advanced concepts. So you can try to execute this. So the next thing we are going to study about jQuery. So jQuery is a or we call it as a JavaScript framework. Okay. So initially we had only JavaScript, okay, and the JavaScript was used for client-side programming or for interacting with the client. For example, to get the confirmation message, okay, you'll get some confirmation like alert box, confirmation box, or to take some inputs from the user. So for every user interaction or for validating the form, for everything, okay, for client-side interaction, we were using JavaScript. Okay. And after that, okay, uh, in the time around in August 2005, in the year of August 2005, the JavaScript was introduced. Okay, so which is much simpler. Okay, if you see the code or the syntax of jQuery, it is very much simple compared to that of JavaScript. Okay, so here you can also make use of, instead of using JavaScript for your mini project, you can also make use of jQuery. Okay. So jQuery is much simpler compared to a JavaScript. So jQuery is easy to learn, which was introduced in the year of 2005. Okay, founded by John Racine, was looking into how to better combine. Okay, his idea was how to make this JavaScript simple. Okay, how to make this combination of CSS and JavaScript notation simple. So he made a new language, that is jQuery, which made this combination of CSS and jQuery simpler. So within 1 year, okay, within the introduction of jQuery, within that 1 year, the concept of Ajax and animation was added. So after that, these two important concepts was resolved. And after that, you can see here we have two important additional modules in jQuery. One is jQuery UI extension. Another one is mobile device support. Okay. So jQuery can be used for developing the applications, web applications, okay, which works better, okay, or it is mobile compatibility. Okay. So here, if you are using jQuery for developing the web application or websites, okay, neatly you can display your website in mobile. Okay. Uh, uh, you must either download, okay, how to include jQuery. So you know how to include JavaScript in HTML. So how to include jQuery? So jQuery, either you can download the library which is available in jQuery.com. You can visit this website and download the library. You can store somewhere in your system, and using that you can, based on your requirement, you can access the functions or methods which is there in this library, and you can perform the task. Or else what you can do is you can take the assistance of a third party host. Okay, so you can take the help of some third party hosts such as Google. Okay, so here in the Google, they have in the server all the necessary JavaScript libraries. Okay, all jQuery links, everything is there in their host. Okay, you can use the URL. Okay, if you know the URL, you can use that URL, and you can make use of you can execute the JavaScript code. Okay, along with the Google, you can also make use of this, even this Microsoft CDN, so Microsoft Content Delivery Network. So they also give the URL, okay, which is executing the jQuery code. Okay. So if you want to execute this, okay, if you want to make use of this third party, you should have the internet connection. Okay, since you are accessing it from their server. So suppose if you are using the third party content delivery network, okay, it is advantages. Okay, it is very helpful. Or what are the advantages? So first advantage, file is offloaded to reduce the demand on your server. So everything will be there, all the files will be there in their server. Okay, so so you can just call the functions which is there in their server, and it can execute the your web application. Okay, all the files will be not there in your server. It can be stored in some other server like your Microsoft or in Google, which will reduce the burden on your server. Okay, then cache the third party file and does not have to download it again. Okay, by reducing the total loading time. So what is the disadvantage? So disadvantage of using any third party host like Syrian or Google is that your jQuery will fail. Okay, if their server is if there is any problem in their server, okay, then since you are fetching the code which is available in Google or Microsoft server, okay, if that particular server fails, then you are unable to execute your code, jQuery code. Okay, so that you have to take in. So this is an example showing, okay, so how we can use the links. So this red color, whatever you can see, so these are all the links, okay, we are using from the third party host. Okay, jQuery loading using CDN and a local failsafe if the CDN is offline. Okay, so this is a link. Okay. And if you see here, if you see compare JavaScript or any other scripting language, okay, SWF or any other scripting language, okay. So JavaScript is now the jQuery is now the most popular JavaScript library currently used as supported by the statistics. Okay, so here if you see uh, top 47 million sites are using jQuery extensions. Okay, so most of the websites that is developed nowadays are using jQuery as a client-side programming language, scripting language. Okay, so top websites are using this. You can see in Facebook, okay, even in Twitter. Okay, the top websites are using jQueries. So here now we are studying only the brief introduction about jQueries. Okay, so they have not given in detail about the jQueries. Okay, we are studying only a brief introduction. Okay, the first topic is jQuery selectors. So here we have studied about CSS selectors, right? So different types of CSS selector. What are the different types of CSS selectors? Class selector, ID selectors, universal selector, pseudo, contextual selector, attribute. So different selectors we have studied. Okay, and we know how to interact with those selectors using JavaScript. So in JavaScript, we have used document.getElement by ID, or we have functions like query selector for selector. These are the selector functions in JavaScript which can be used for interacting with the CSS selectors, right? So although the advanced query selector methods allows the selection of DOM elements using CSS selectors. So we know how to change the color, background color, or hide an element. Okay, how to change the text color using CSS. Okay, how to change the name of the class, how to access an element with an ID. Okay, so all these things we have studied. Now jQuery introduces its own way of selecting the element. Okay, so similarly we are studying now here the concept of jQuery, how jQuery can be used for interacting with the CSS selectors. Okay. Okay, so this is you can see in W3 school we get the introduction about the jQueries. Okay. So here we have the examples. Okay, different selectors. This is universal selector, ID selector, class selectors, or uh, your group selectors or pseudo selectors. Okay, so then again we have pseudo element selectors. These are all pseudo element selector, contextual selectors. Okay, all this will show you. Okay, here we are showing the example how we can use jQuery for dealing with the selectors. Okay, so now here we are showing in jQuery we are showing 4 basic selectors. Okay, so here in jQuery we show how to interact with the 4 basic selectors of a CSS. So universal selector, class selector, ID selector, and element selector. Okay, so let's look into the example. So here, this is a universal selector. We know that if we give star, it selects all the elements inside the document. Correct? So look at here. This is the syntax of your jQuery. Okay. How it is given. So here this is the body part where we have H1 paragraph and we have your unordered list. So these things are in there in the body part. Now this is a external, okay, the link of the external third party host. We are using this third party host for executing our JavaScript code. Okay. Now this is okay, the jQuery code. Okay. In the jQuery, okay, initially the jQuery will start using, okay, every jQuery code will start using $document.ready, okay, inside that function. So this is a common code in all the jQuery, okay, till here. So here, when the document is ready to be loaded in the browser, okay, so when it is ready, you'll be starting executing this ready function. Okay. So inside this, what we are doing is we are using this is a syntax. Okay. Using this syntax that is a dollar in the bracket, we are using universal selector. The universal selector star is used for selecting all the tags. Correct. So for all the tags, okay, what we are doing, we are uh, assigning a CSS. Okay, we are assigning the CSS. So what CSS we are assigning? What property we are assigning? CSS property. We are assigning the CSS property, that is for all the tag we are changing, okay, background color. What is the background color we are giving? Yellow. Okay. So this is applied for all the tags since we are using star here. Okay. So since we are using star, it is applied for all the. So you can see here for all, it is background color is, okay. So this is yellow. Okay, this is a universal selector. This is an example for universal selector that matches all the elements. Okay. Now what did I do here? Instead of star, I have given the name of the tag here, correct? So this is an example for element selector, next type of selector. So if you give here a particular tag name, okay, how many paragraphs I have here? 4 paragraphs. Okay. Now this is an example for element selector that matches only that particular tag or element that is there within a given element, given document. Okay, so only if you view this P, then this only the paragraph will have the background color as yellow. Okay, you can see it is not applied to H1 or it is not applied to your list. Okay. Now again, this is an example. Now you can see what did I do? I have changed instead of the tag name, I have given the name of the class. How did I give? In the double quote, instead of P, now I have given the name of the class. Okay, how did I select the name of the class? Simply don't write the name of the class. Use dot and write the name of the class. Dot name of the class. Okay, so this is an example for class selector. So if you write like this, it will match all the tags within the given class name. Okay, within the particular class name. Any tag which is having this class name at the intro will have the background color as yellow. Now this is the one. Okay, background color is yellow. Okay. Again, now I will write. What is happening? Now hash is used for what? If you remember, it is used for what? ID selector, correct? Hash is used for ID selector. Now if I write hash choose, so what is that? It is the name of the ID, correct? So this is a jQuery. Okay, so this is a jQuery for ID selector that matches all the tags within a given HTML ID attribute. So it will select all the tags that is having this particular ID choose. Okay, and it will change the background color of that to yellow. Okay, so these are 4 examples. Okay, they may ask you in the exam how jQuery can be used for 4 basic selectors. Okay, these are the 4 basic selectors. Okay, in one simple example, you can show all the 4 types of selectors. So here there are examples. This is for ID selector. This is for element selector. Okay. Next one is just I'll show you a few more examples. You can try these examples. Okay. This is about the pseudo paragraphs. Here we are having 3 paragraphs. If I give P colon first, okay. So this is a pseudo selector. So P colon first will select the first paragraph. Okay, and it will give the background color as yellow. Okay. And similarly, you can go for this. We have enormous number of examples here. You can see here, okay, this is selecting, okay, H2. So what does H2 is having? Nice to meet you. Okay, so for H2 and for due, okay, and similarly for the span. So all these three tags, okay, can be given with the particular CSS style. Okay, so all the three. Okay, and similarly, we can write. So here, if I want to give the style for only the span tag which is there inside the P. Okay, so I want to give inside the P. Okay, I want to give only for the span tag, so I can write it like this. Okay, so this is applied only for the span tag which is there inside the P. Okay. Now suppose if I have here span tag for this, I have two span tags here. Okay, one is inside div, another one inside paragraph. Okay, now you can see here, this is span tag is only, this style is only for the span which is there inside the paragraph, not for the span which is there inside the div. Okay, so this is what the example is shown here. Okay, so inside UL tag, it is style you are applying only for the a dot link. This is for applying for the time tag which is there inside the main. Okay, hash main, since it is id. Okay, hash main for the time, hash main greater than time, this is contextual selector. Okay, hash main, inside that div, inside that p dot first child. Okay, so inside the first you go inside div, I mean div which is having the id main. After that go for the div. Okay, so how many div we have? Two div tags we have. Inside that go for the first paragraph. Okay, so how many paragraph we have? Here one paragraph and this is one. So this will be given. Okay. So so this is about basics about different basic selectors using uh, jQuery. Okay. So next, moving on to the additional uh, selectors. Okay, apart from this ID element, the universal selector, we have different other selectors like attribute selector, pseudo element selector, contextual selector. So let's see the example for these three selectors. Okay. So here we will go for the attribute selector. Let's look into some attribute selector example. Every element will be having an id. Okay, so every element when you declare will be having certain attributes, correct? Id is one more, id is an example for an attribute, correct? So here we are using jQuery for attribute selector. See here how we have done. So id is attribute. Okay, how we have used, we have used here square bracket, inside that square bracket. Okay, uh, inside double quote use square bracket and specify the name of the attribute, and using that attribute give the property, I mean give the style. So for that, uh, This is attribute selector. Okay, example for attribute selector. So you can see here how we have done for attribute selector. You can give the name of the attribute within the square bracket, or you can also write it like this: attribute equal to value, or you can also attribute beginning with, okay, attribute value that is ending with, or this is attribute that is having some substring, okay, or some content. Okay, so let's see the examples, few more examples. So this is one simple example. I can say this is simple example for ID selector, for attribute selector. Okay. So difference is, okay, for ID selector we have used hash. Okay, don't confuse. This is not ID selector. This is attribute selector. We are selecting the attribute. Okay. ID selector we have used hash. Okay. This is one more example. Look at this example. Okay. Here what we are doing, we are using not only just the name of the attribute, we are also using the value. So we are specifying in the square bracket id is equal to chosen. Okay. So for that we are assigning some CSS properties. Okay. Now look at this. This will be more, still more clear. Here. So what we are doing, this is an attribute selector example. Okay. So we have H1 paragraphs. Okay. And how many paragraphs we have? Three paragraphs we have. These are the three paragraphs. Okay. And we have used here class not equal to intro. So we are selecting the paragraph, okay, where the class is not equal to intro. So which paragraph? These are the two paragraphs which will be given the background color as yellow. So this is one more example for attribute selector. Okay. And this is one more example. So this example is, okay, what we have done is we are having the three links, the anchor tag. There are three anchor tags with the different links. And now what we have done is we have used attribute selector. How we have done anchor tag which is having href, okay, ending with dollar indicates what? Ending with .org. So which is that? There is only one link that is ending with .org. That will be given the background color as yellow. Okay. So this is some of the example for attribute selected. So these examples you can view. Okay. So this is one more example. Okay. So like this you can create an image tags you can create, image tags you can create, and image tags will be having different attributes like source, target, then alt. So you know what are the attributes of an image tag, correct? So alt, target. Okay. So like this, we'll be having different attributes. Now, which attribute we are selecting? Under the image, we are selecting source attribute that begins with. Okay. So if the attribute source is beginning with, okay, artist, then select that and, okay. So here consider selector to select all image elements with the source attribute that begins with artist. Okay. Here see whether this particular example is available. You can see here. So here this is all input tags. Okay. Now what we do is for the input tag we select uh, the attribute name that is beginning with the nation. So we have the attribute name. Okay, all four are having the attribute with the different values. Okay. Now out of this four, two are beginning with the nation. Correct. One is beginning with the nation, but it is having nationality. Okay. So here nation. Okay. So these two will be selected and they will be given the background color as yellow. Okay, so like this, you can give few examples either from the textbook or from the W3 schools. Any example, okay, you can give. Okay, so it will be easy for you if you execute and check. Okay, so this is all about attribute selector. Okay, the remaining things we will continue in the next class. Pseudo and contextual selector. We will discuss in the next class. Thank you.